Thank you for joining us for this edition of the gallery. I would like to welcome Christine Fitzsimmons today. She is the artist that we are featuring in our gallery for May and June. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'm really looking forward to learning more about this beautiful art and the process you use to create it.
Thank you.
What I would like to share first is that we are hosting the reception for your showing on June 14th from 5 to 7. So please, looking forward to having you here.
Thank you. I look forward to meeting a lot of people during that time. I was here for the months of March and April in a group show with the Visual Artists Cooperative, and we had wonderful feedback from people who came in to see the show, and it was so much fun to be a part of it. So thank you for inviting me back.
That's great. Thank you so much. Would you please share with us how you got your start as an artist?
I started drawing and playing with different creative medium as a child. I mean, I just always enjoyed drawing and the typical things that kids love, like Play-Doh and finger paint, and it just stayed with me. And I was always walking around with a pad of paper and a pencil, and I would draw constantly. So it was, my first love was paper and pencil, and that just carried itself through my entire life. I started taking lessons in painting and drawing at about the age of 10. Studied art in high school and then went on to art college. So wonderful, wonderful career. I mean, it's just been a fabulous journey for me.
Yes, and it's obvious from the talent that you have been an artist since your childhood. Absolutely love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And can you just share a little bit more about the mediums that you've used in the past?
Well, when you study art, you study various forms of artistic expression, and they come from different areas. You know, you study psychology, philosophy, sociology, religion, and learn about all the different icons and images that impress people through history, and then use different techniques to kind of work with those ideas. And so watercolor, drawing, printmaking, oil paint, sculpture, those are all the areas that I did study.
That's fascinating, your curriculum when you were in high school and college.
That's when you go to art school, that's what you study.
Fascinating.
And it's wonderful. I mean, you study history and how people express themselves through different artistic mediums and how they incorporated that into their daily lives, like with dinnerware and textiles and jewelry, and a lot of different things that we use every day come from artistic expression.
Wonderful. Can you talk a little bit about what has inspired your art?
I find inspiration everywhere I look. I mean, I live near Bass River, which I've lived in Bass River for over 30 years, and the water is a huge inspiration for me. The colors of the water, how the sky reflects, how that changes on a daily basis or minute-to-minute basis. But that's not the only thing that inspires me. I find a great deal of inspiration in just everything I do every day, and people that I meet, and things that I see. And when I paint what I feel. To me, that's what I do as an artist, is to express myself in a nonverbal way. So paintings that you might look at, you might have a different impression of what that is, as opposed to what I felt when I painted it. And to me, that's the beauty of it. The show that I have here for the next 2 months, the works are all untitled. And that was a very purposeful presentation because I don't want to give the viewer an idea of what they should see. I want the viewer to feel something and decide for themselves what that is. So that, go ahead.
Is that common to have a show where all the works are untitled?
It's not common. The artists that were that became recognized as abstract artists back in the 60s and 70s started to untitle their work because they felt that they wanted the viewer to recognize something in themselves rather than something that the artist portrayed. And so abstract art is non-objective or non-recognizable often, except for maybe color. And color has a huge impact on us as people emotionally. And I think that's one of the reasons that this show is untitled, is I want people coming in to just look at the work and feel something for themselves and decide what that is.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Can you talk and share with us the technique that you have developed for your art?
My technique came from my study of art in college, actually. In high school and in college, I was very impressed with the hardline painting, the abstract work that people were doing, and artists that were so skilled at what they did in terms of making very confident decisions about color and placement of color, and everything was so perfectly, almost mechanically done, yet freehand. So artists painted with such skill, and I found that I became frustrated trying to imitate a hard line painting, a hard edge, and I just couldn't get it the way I wanted it to look. So I came up with a technique, and I'm going to do a little show and tell here, where I actually design an image, and then I stitch the canvas. So if you look at, you can see a raised edge.
Yes.
The raised edge allows me to follow a line that becomes a hard edge, a clean edge, and it's clean. It's perfect for what I want it to be, and that took the frustration out of it. There's a bit of pre-planning, so I do a lot of drawing before I actually get to the place of painting, and so this is the first phase. I stretch all of my canvases, and this is just done on a sewing machine. I design it, I stitch it, I stretch it, and that's the first step.
That is what happens after you have a drawing and you have a vision in your mind?
This is what happens after I have the drawing and I have a vision. And this particular piece incorporates a curved edge, and that is something that I put together in terms of some drawings that I did. So that was the first step. The second step is to apply a coat of gesso. And gesso is a primer that goes onto the canvas so that it allows the paint to grip onto the canvas as well. So gesso is a commonly used primer that artists use. So now I have a firm edge that now becomes very stiff. And
yes, may I?
Sure.
Yes,
you can touch it.
Much different.
It's very stiff, and now it's going to stay in place and allow me to do the painting that I want to do on the canvas. So that's the second step. And then the third step is to just finish it. So this particular piece, I usually don't paint in recognizable imagery, but this was part of a series that I did that was part of, it was a group show that I was involved in, and it was a water image or a we were kind of going toward an ecology image, and I thought, you know, fish is so much a part of our landscape here.
Very much.
So I wanted to preserve my the fish that that we all depend on. So that's what I painted. So this is more of a recognizable image, but
Yes.
without this line, it would have a completely different look and a completely different feel. So that one edge, that one line, to me, is a very important part of my work. So that's what I do.
I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
Is this process something that you've been doing for a long time or relatively new?
I have been doing this for years. It started when I was, again, frustrated with not being able to paint a really, really nice straight line back in the late 70s. And I actually applied for and was granted a U.S. patent on this technique that was effective in September of 1985. And
Impressive.
the formal name of the technique was three-dimensional fabric painting surfaces, which meant that this could apply to not just canvas but any fabric, any textile of any nature. And not just the line, but there were a couple of other versions of that patent that was sort of like a tufted piece and so on that I have used. So the patent has expired, so I can't use that terminology any longer for myself, but I can say, and that's what I do. This is what I now term oil on three-dimensional canvas. And I use oil. That's my favorite medium to paint with.
Thanks. That's great. Is there anything else that you would like to share today?
You know, we were talking about what inspires me, and it's not just, you know, going for a nice walk and seeing something beautiful and feeling good about it and coming home and painting. I use my art as an expression, like I said, a nonverbal expression of how I feel, and that can be used in another way. And a story that I did want to share was that I was at the finish line of the Boston Marathon bombing in the bleachers when the bombs went off. That experience was something that was so unexpected and so difficult to deal with emotionally, and the imagery kept going through my head. And I found myself in my studio one day just feeling like I was paralyzed, like I couldn't move. And I decided that I had to push that feeling out onto a canvas and make sure that that wasn't going to hold me back, because those types of experiences do paralyze people.
Yes.
And so I found myself painting, and I did a large piece that to me looked angry, and that's how I felt. I was so angry. And once I painted it and felt like, wow, okay, some of that emotion has left me. Now it's over there, it's not here. I felt better. And I contacted the United Way. I was a guest of theirs at the finish line. And I said, I have this piece that I painted, and is there any way for me to participate in any of the fundraising events? I'd be happy to donate it. I got an immediate response back that they had just started to put together a fundraising event to raise money for the survivors. They welcomed my painting, and it did sell at auction. So I felt that that experience that I had that was so difficult to deal with actually was able to help someone in a good way. And as an artist, I feel a sense of responsibility toward doing that. I think artists have a very unique and privileged avenue of expression, not only visual art, but performing art and music and dance and poetry, writing. We have full freedom of expression to do and say what we feel. That's one of our privileges of the United States of America. That's what we can do. And so as an artist, I feel like I have to take advantage of that and be able to be a part of that vocabulary of saying, you know, art, it can be beautiful because we've had a beautiful day. It can also be very difficult and very angry or express something very ugly that had happened, but now it's going to help us heal. And I think as an artist, that's a privilege that I have.
That's a very touching story, and thank you very much for helping.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm sure that, I mean, what I did was just a tiny little drop in the bucket, but eventually the bucket fills with good deeds and goodness, and I was happy to be a part of that.
Together we can do amazing things,
yes,
can't
we can. Yes, we can.
That's
yes.
great. Well, thank you again for being here.
Welcome.
And thank you so much for joining us. And please come visit Christine at the reception, at the opening that we'll be having here at the Media Center on June 14th from 5 to 7. Thank you.